you have not become a patron of the Geocache Talk Network, what are you waiting for? Patron levels start as low as a Bison Tube level at $3 a month. To sign up is easy. Simply go to the Geocache Talk website and click on the Become a Patron button, or go to patreon.com/Geocache Talk. Patrons now get the famous Blackout coin, invites to special events, and other really great items throughout the year. Become a patron today. Have you subscribed to FTF Magazine yet? FTF Magazine is the #1 geocaching magazine available. It is a quarterly magazine that you can be part of. Submit your geocaching milestones and adventures to be published. FTF Magazine is also interactive with puzzles to solve and the hunt to find Spartacus. If you can solve the puzzle or find Spartacus, then you will be entered in to win a special pack tag. Every new subscription, you will receive a special swag pack. Subscribing is easy. Just visit FTF's website, ftfgeo.com. Don't miss out and subscribe today.
Welcome to Deep Dive, where we dive deep into geocaching topics. Each episode features in-depth discussions and aims to provide a deeper understanding and appreciation of geocaching and to inspire listeners to explore new aspects of our great sport. And with me, the Brainiac himself.
The Brainiac himself, huh?
I think my problem was my headset.
Ah, okay.
So it's not you. So
good. So means my audio is working then. That's good.
We can go back to your other one next time, but
good.
Yeah.
Good.
It was cutting out during the opening. It's like, that's not Jesse's problem. That's my problem.
That's not me. So that, I hate it for your headphones, but that's good news.
Well,
because both of my devices
they're probably low. I need to charge them, hopefully. So
that'll do it.
No big deal. Let me make sure though. One thing I do want to do is I do want to make sure I've got echo cancellation on, because it is okay. Because without these on, sometimes I get a loop. We'll get a loop back, but apparently it's not. So I'm gonna plug them in and get them recharged.
So we can't have any cool echo effect to make it sound like we're in a
No. Although I did find something we can do in the future. So I know it's dangerous.
I'm sure there's some kind of AI now that can make us sound like Snoop Dogg and Eminem talking instead.
Yeah.
Or I don't know who I'd pick though. Who would you pick
for AI?
Yeah, if your voice could sound like anybody.
Christopher Walken.
Oh God, I couldn't even finish the show like that.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
It's just there's a part of Rick and Morty where he uses Christopher Walken because you should be walking. Okay.
Gosh,
after our radio show, I thought it'd be good if we could get drops. We could do once in a while, like a drop.
Yeah.
And sure enough, we can. So I downloaded one drop. So it doesn't apply to anything right now, but I'm going to play it real quick.
60% of the time, it works every time.
That doesn't make sense.
That doesn't make sense.
We don't need that toy. We don't need Gary to have that toy. That's going to be stuff all the time.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So welcome everyone. We are going to Barry White.
There you go.
Barry White. Tonight's is definitely #Brain.
Yep.
Will be our giveaway, and we will talk about what I've got optionally for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so put in #Brain, and we will do a giveaway at the end of tonight's show, which should be interesting. It's a kind of a different one, but hey, that's what we do. We're here to do things a little bit differently. So
yeah. Any news? I know we haven't had much news lately.
Not really. Last week we talked about International Geocaching Day. Did you find one to get the souvenir?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't find one to get the souvenir.
I
I
know.
found one just because it was a weekend and I was going caching. So
I'll be
I
honest.
don't I don't even go look at the souvenirs. So
I was out. I'm trying to repurpose so I have one smoker, like barrel type smoker that I got actually for free. So I'm glad it was free because it sucks.
yeah.
And so I have an old grill that had a smoker box on the side of it for smoking things. And so,
Mhm.
but it rotted out, and I left it in the backyard just to die. And then
Just to die.
I got, what's that?
Just to die.
Just to die, to die a lonely metal death in my backyard. But I got a replacement for it, but it's not the same brand.
Mhm.
So I've had to kind of Frankenstein it.
Okay.
And so I've been working on, so I got it attached and I got it working, although I'm working on, I've had to fill in some gaps on it to make it so that the smoke just doesn't, when I did it the first time, hoping I'd had it right, but it wasn't. And so you're staring at it going, the meat's over here, the smoker's here, and all the smoke's pouring out of the side.
Yeah.
So I had to once I was done, I had to fix it. So anyway, I was out, long story. But that day was Saturday, and I was out buying a few different parts to kind of fill in the gaps to make sure it goes so it works right. And so I was like, oh, it's International Geocaching Day too. I just go grab one. It's like not a shame one, but it's like I'm just gonna grab one because I'll get this,
So 2 things. One, I thought that story was going to go in a totally different direction. I
Yeah.
thought you would say you had an old smoker and you were making it into a geocache to put out.
Oh no, I do
That
have
would
an
be a
old
much cooler
light.
story. But you didn't. But you're doing the right thing. That's still cool.
Yeah.
2, so you went out for that souvenir, right?
I got it because there's a souvenir.
Yeah. So do you pay attention to souvenirs at all?
No, not usually.
Okay. So without going and looking, how many souvenirs do you think you have? You got to make a guess.
Oh,
Don't go look anywhere. Stay on the same screen.
90 something maybe.
Okay. Now go look it up and see how many you have.
All right, I'll go look it up.
I just happened to see mine the other day, so that's why I knew generally ballpark what I had. But
how many you got approximately?
I know exactly how many I have. I have 270.
Oh,
270? Yeah. But I mean, they're from all kinds of junk, right?
Holy cow.
You can easily see it in Cachly. So in Cachly, you just go to the profile page and it can show you how many you have.
It usually tells you, right?
Yeah. So
I was looking on.
Yeah. Cachly
souvenirs. I just went to.
You can see it too.
I just went online and went to souvenirs. I was figuring I could.
All right.
Does it tell you? I'm 180.
So you weren't even close. So you don't pay attention to souvenirs at all.
It shows you how little I look at it.
That's right. That's a good 180. So Steve Drop says she's got 230. So just for possible future show ideas, for the chat room, take a look at it if you can do it without leaving. Don't go anywhere. Take a look at it and just post how many souvenirs you have. I'd be interested to see just in general how many people have.
And some of them are really cool looking, and others are like meh.
I don't have anything against the souvenirs. It's just not part of the game that I play.
Right. Me too.
Like, now, not saying that at some time it won't be, but there's a lot more than there used to be when we started the game. There's a lot more opportunities for souvenirs.
And they do the little games.
Yeah, those are the promotional. Which
the promotional
track, but I really like what they're doing with those, and I think there's I think they're testing, hopefully, for future potential things that I'd love to see.
Hidden creatures and
yeah. Again, I know we're going to topic again, but again, that's how our brain works, right? When we start talking about something we're excited, which is what we're talking about.
Yeah, we will. Yeah,
I really wish they would do something like if a cache has been out there for a certain amount of time or somebody's out of the game, they would put some digital souvenir on it to make people go out after it. And it's a one-time collection thing.
Yeah. Interesting.
You could also put a digital souvenir when a cache is first published for the FTF. And people could go and get those souvenirs, and it just like ranks up how many you have. And only one person can get it.
Only one oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see your point.
There's a lot of things they could do, but I would like to see it mainly for like caches that are just defunct, so they can keep the cache board alive. Right? It hadn't been found in 6 months. Boop, it's got a little 6-month souvenir on it.
Got a little souvenir, yeah.
Or a little, a little pet or something. You can collect them all, but we'll see what they do with it in the future.
It's fun to go back through and look at them. I mean, I think a good portion of them for me brings back fond memories.
Yeah. We'll have to do a show on souvenirs soon too. But
yeah.
I just got another idea. What about if the cache owner has been out of the game for 6 months? It shows a little souvenir of a guy on there, and he's unhealthy. And or a tombstone. The guy out of the game for a year. He puts a tombstone in there. When you go out, you get your digital souvenir and you grab the cache and leave.
Right.
Because it's gone, you archive it. And when you get it, it archives it.
That's funny.
That would stop the geolitter out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I would go after those in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah.
Like it could be a little trash can, or it could be, I guess, and you could just build like a digital souvenir of like a graveyard. I collected all this trash.
That'd be kind of cool.
A mini Ceto cleaning up the game board. Like a mini Ceto souvenir.
I love it. Yeah, that would kind of bring back to me a little bit of the beauty of the souvenir. I mean, they're cool, but I'm kind of like you. I don't normally. Saturday was probably one of the very few times that I got a cache just to get a souvenir. I don't normally do that. Leap Day, if you go back and look, there's some really cool Leap Day series of souvenirs. Those are kind of cool.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to call a pause. This is gonna be a souvenir show if we keep going.
Yeah, we gotta keep going. Okay, let's go back. So,
which is funny because we're getting distracted on a show about the brain.
Yeah, we are. About being just
Let's jump into the real topic for tonight.
Let's get into the topic. So I did some research I wanted to do a show like this for a little while, and I finally decided to go ahead and do the extra research. And so I found some interesting things, and I want to run them by you.
Answer is yes to that.
Like a Grim Reaper. There you go.
Absolutely. That would be the focus of my game solely from this point on.
Yeah.
I wouldn't geocache any other way. I would just go out and do that.
That'd be wild. So I found some things I want to read. I am going to read some. I'm not really supposed to read a lot on a podcast, but I'm going to read you a couple items, and then I want to get your thoughts on what these people have said.
Okay.
So first part is going to be about how we find things.
Mm-hmm.
So this I found fascinating because geocaching, we're always trying to find something, right? I mean, that's the point of that's the point, I think, other than social time, but that's an event and that's different.
Absolutely.
So first statement, our eyes deliver an overwhelming amount of information to the brain. Mm-hmm. It's not possible for all of this information to be processed. And so our brain has to make a choice. Which part of the visual field, the entire plane of vision available to sight, will I focus on? This is what we call attention. The parts of our visual field that we don't pay attention to are barely processed at all.
Mm-hmm.
That's key. Meaning that in the end, they are not really perceived. This is called attentional blindness. As a result, it's possible to look in the direction of a geocache without perceiving it. This in turn can cause the sense of surprise, and we'll talk about what that does to the body in a little bit, but the sense of surprise we experience once we discover the cache.
Mm-hmm.
So, have you ever had geocaching blindness?
Well, absolutely, right. And really, there's two or three things wrapped up in that. And
Yeah,
obviously, I've done some study on the brain in past
sure.
through education and my master's degree and everything else. But so a lot of that was on how the brain works differently for different people.
Right.
But it's fascinating. So we could talk all day about what you just read, easily all day.
Yeah.
Like way past my bedtime. But if you think about it, so you're driving down the road. Everybody does this. You're driving to work. Now, sometimes we zone out and we don't even remember until we're there, right? We're so lost in our thoughts, which is super safe, by the way. But so think about it. You're driving to work or a new place. Let's say you're driving somewhere new.
Yeah.
You're focused on the traffic,
hopefully,
the roads, where to turn. But it's not like you can't see the stores on the side, right? You can see like over to your right, there's stores or there's something, right? You're driving through town.
Right.
You're not cataloging any of that information. You see it in your periphery. You know it's there. If a plane crashed over next to you, you'd see it, but you're not paying attention to anything.
Right.
When you're driving, you cannot take, that you're kind of tunnel visioned or whatever, but you're not. You're aware of everything, but your brain's not recording all that extra information. It's only recording what you're focusing on.
Yeah.
You didn't see anything else going on over here. And that happens all day, every day with our brains, right?
Yeah.
That's that attentional focus or, now if we're alert to something specific, like we're going out geocaching, we're looking for something specific. We're trying to focus on things and we're not paying attention around us. And that kind of goes back to that whole safety thing, right? When you tunnel vision in on something, you're not paying attention to what's going on around you. And if you're out in the world doing a hobby like we do, that's not always a great thing.
Right.
Animals, people, everything else around you, and you're focusing so much. But you can focus so much on something, it's going to be right there next to you, and you don't even see it.
Yeah, which gets to the next part of you're exactly right. And so we don't, like you said, we do not catalog every single thing that we're seeing. We can't.
There's no way.
The brain was, is developed perfectly to, if used properly, you can focus on the things you need to focus on. The interesting thing, though, they continue in this, and I've got in the show notes, I've got the references. If you want to go look at these later, please go look at show notes. We create them and put them up on the web and hope that people go check them out. So
hope they're valuable to somebody, right?
Hope they're valuable. Yeah. Next part. How does the brain decide what I'm paying attention to? Scientists think that our brains have two ways to do this. First, something in the environment can attract our attention. Like you said, if we're driving, the environment, obviously we're attracting the attention of the fact that we're moving forward and there's things we got to be focused on. But let's go back to let's go back to when you're geocaching and you're looking around GZ. Okay. An example that I'm going to use is some people do, and I've put out some that are off color. They're not really the color you want to use, but a red bison tube, I'll use it. I'm not really trying to be, I'm going to leave it red. I don't care. It's just, I'm putting out a whole series of caches. And so I got a red bison tube. I'm going to use it. And it's in a tree and it's against a green background. The large contrast between the item and its background hopefully makes the item stand out immediately.
Right.
This is called pop out. The second way of directing attention is by our own conscious thoughts. So apparently, if we're looking if we're looking, but we're not really thinking about what we're looking at, then things can just pop out. Oh, I see it now because it's blatant.
It's the Waldo effect, right? Like you're looking at a book, you're looking at Waldo, you're looking at him,
yes,
but you haven't seen him yet. You have to look around and see if something's going to pop out. as you scan through there, he's going to be a little bit different.
Right.
We know what he's supposed to look like, so that's how we pop him out in the middle of all that background camouflage, right? So
yeah, especially when we're directing our attention to it. So we're like,
yes,
we're now going to look carefully for something. For example, you may expect most geocaches to be hidden somewhere close to the ground. If that, so you'll pay little attention to places up high, such as a high branch. Research shows that it takes much longer to find objects hidden in unlikely places. Now, the Waldo one's a little different because you've got a tidal wave of information that your brain is looking at, and they all look similar. So it's like have you ever done once in a while I come up on my phone where you've got like a bunch of S's and you're supposed to find the G inside of all the S's.
right.
And you're like, at first you're like, it's a sea of S's. You can't just, it's not popping out. It's not going to pop out because it's so much similar to the S. But when you start to focus, then you can sort of get to a point where you can start, your brain can start the process. And that's really what can happen. And it happens for different people at different points.
For sure. And that's what Scouter, TKD Scouter said, pattern recognition plays a big part in finding the cat. Absolutely, right? Let's use the bison example, but now your red bison should stand out because it's going to pop out, right?
Right.
Let's say that was a green bison. Let's say it looks the color of the tree, like in a pine tree, right?
Yeah.
So it's not going to pop out when you're doing that. So an example for this. So we can use, one, if we think it's a bison when we get there,
right,
we're looking for a bison. Our brain is looking for that shape.
Right.
Right. Now that can totally throw us off if it's not one, right? But the more caches we do, the more likely we're going to recognize the shapes because we've seen so many of them. But
if you've seen one,
yeah.
If you're a new cacher and you're like, somebody put a comment and they said, "Oh, it's a bison tube," and they go, "What's a bison tube?"
Right. We were all there. We've all found our first bison tube at some point, right? But I think we can use this same information what we're talking about to help us find geocaches. So one of the things I do, like let's say we're doing the same thing. It's a bison tube. It's in a pine tree, there's a million of those in Colorado, green bison tubes and pine trees, right?
Right.
One of the things that I'd first walk up and look, first you give it that first scan. You're looking for a bison tube. It's probably going to be green unless somebody's just being a goofball, right?
Right.
But it may pop out to you just because it's slick.
Yeah.
It's different. That may be what pops out, but it also may not. One of the things I do, which is the reverse of this, is I'll move the tree branch. Well, the leaves sway in one kind of pattern.
Yeah.
And something hanging usually sways in a different pattern.
Sure.
That helps a lot of times to spot those.
No, I agree.
That's the pop out. You're creating your own pop out when you do that, right? Shake it, branches here, and you're like, well, that part of that tree, something caught my eye. Part of that tree didn't shake like the rest of it.
Right.
That's probably our bison tube, right? So that's kind of the reverse. You're creating your own pop out because you already have pattern recognition, but you just got to be able to see it.
No, that's really good. That's something that I do similar. Another part of that is getting different perspectives on an area. So like you said, and Hodag mentioned that bison tube in a tree. Bison, like you said, bison tubes in trees can be very deceptive.
They do. They get me.
They get me too all the time. So I try to get different visual perspectives. So I look at it from different angles, or I'll carefully pull the branch down a little bit, not break it, but like pull it down a little bit just so I can get a different angle on it.
Yeah.
That's very much part of it. I have a funny story. We go back to the and I read, I didn't put it in the article because I don't know whether this is scientifically accurate or not. It's an interesting tale. And then I've got something similar I want to tell you about.
Right.
So the tale, whether it's true or not, is that when explorers first came to a certain indigenous shoreline with indigenous folks that live in that area who've never seen a ship before. Apparently, if you've never seen it before, and this is their, whether I don't think it's perfectly accurate, but the idea is that they can't perceive what they're looking at, so they're blind to. This is how the story goes: is they're blind to, they can't see the giant ship because they've never seen a giant ship before.
Yeah.
But when the men get off and get into smaller ships, then all of a sudden they see them.
Yeah.
Now, part of it could be the fact that they thought that the big ship is a mirage because they've never seen one, so they thought, oh,
Right,
that's
right.
So anyway. But the idea is that there's blindness that we can have if we've never seen something before. Now,
Right.
I had
our
a
brain
weird,
doesn't make sense of it, so it's got to, it's got to do something for us, right? Yeah.
right. So I had a wild one when I was in Longview, Texas, and I was solo caching, and I was at this cemetery, and there was a cache it was at a fence line. You could reach it. It was just on the other side of the fence line. So there was like a tree that was on the other side of the barbed wire for the cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't find it. So I sent and I'm think I'm in the right spot. This is back in the day when we weren't necessarily have the accuracy that we used to have.
Right.
So I called my buddy and I said, you found this cache, right? He goes, oh yeah. It's right. It's on this, he explained it to me, and I'm like, it's like, and it was found like the day before. So it's like, it's not missing. And I'm looking in this location and I'm like, I can't. And so I had him walk me through it. I was like, okay, tell me where you think, describe to me where this cache is supposed to be. So he starts describing, he goes, all right. He goes, go back to this one headstone behind you. The headstone behind you. He's like, I remember this one headstone. He goes, go to that headstone. Okay, now walk forward to the fence. Okay, now walk about 3 feet down, 3 feet north, and then look to the right. It should be, that's about where I remember it to be. And I'm looking, and I'm looking. I'm like, no, it's not here. I'm just like, I can't, it's not, I maybe it's gone. I mean, a day gone by, who knows? And then all of a sudden I saw it. And it's like, the heck. And then it's like, now you can't unsee it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the whole story of once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's like, how did my brain not see this bison in this, I think it was like a cedar thing. Cedars are tough down here in the South. It's kind of like pine trees, and I was just staring at it. And then afterwards I sort of stared another minute going, how in the world did I miss this thing? So I mean, we've all had similar stories.
Yeah. Well, our brain makes sense of the information that's coming in. That's how it works every day, right? There's a lot of information coming in, and it only makes sense of it in the frame of mind that we have. So again, like you've never seen a big ship, or you've never seen a bison do before, or you've never seen something. It's just going to make that make sense. It's just like our eyes see different information, but the brain brings those pictures together, right? Like if you close one eye and look, and you close the other eye, you're seeing two different things. But to our brain, we're not seeing those two different things. For us, our brain has already processed that information and given one picture of it.
Right.
Because otherwise we wouldn't, you couldn't even see right if it didn't.
Yeah. Ravenclaw has a good comment here. And I got to see her at CoinFest, last year's CoinFest. So it's good to see you. Always good to catch up with people. That's always the beauty of events. But she says, speech language pathologist is what she's, I didn't know that. That's cool. Research indicates bilinguals are better at discerning the important information from unimportant information than monolinguals. can apply to geocaching of the possibilities. Yeah, so there's
a lot of other things that are affected by that too, how your brain works. It's like it's like it's a hybrid car. It's got two engines that are going a lot all the time.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of that research he's talking about out there. And the interesting thing is, how would that apply to finding geocaches?
Yeah. So a little bit more, and then we're going to jump into another section of I have a couple of different studies. So,
okay.
Attention guidance in the process of searching for objects gets help from what they call target templates. This is kind of, we've talked about this a little bit. Mental images or representations of target objects that are used to guide attention during visual search. Target templates are mental pictures that help direct attention to areas of the room where there are objects sharing features, or like when we're geocaching, with the thing that you're searching for. As you learn about objects in the world, you are able to store those objects in memory, like storing pictures on your phone. For example, thinking about a favorite cache container, think about the shape and the color of it. You do not need to have that cache right in front of you in order to think about its features, because you have a mental representation in memory of it. In visual search, when you are looking for the cache, the target template in your memory pushes your attention to objects that are sort of that particular cache shape. So
this is absolutely relates to geocaching, and we all do this without even realizing we're doing it.
Right.
So think about this. Let's say you're going to find a cache, and everybody has a different, we don't even read the description sometimes, right? We just jump out and go for it. But
yeah,
what's if you're trying to like give yourself a boost, either to hurry up and find a cache or find one you think is going to be harder, what's one of the things we do? We go and look at previous photos, right? Actually makes it super, super easy anyway. So I'll pull up that page, previous photos. Well, what we're doing is we're priming our brain then. We're like, oh, I know exactly what I'm looking for every color. And we're going to find it a lot faster than if we didn't know. If we just knew it's a regular, or if we know it's going to be a bright orange Nike shoebox, that's two totally different searches, right?
Right.
So, or, camouflage or whatever it is. But if we know the exact shape and size, so we already know what our exact target is.
Yeah.
That's going to help us find it a lot faster. Now, that's also a spoiler, right? So
it is.
This can be thought of as a spoiler too. But if we're trying to enhance, our ability to find it quickly, we feed our brain exactly what we're looking for.
Right.
And then we do find it a lot quicker. We're like, oh, I think you can scan a lot faster that way.
Yeah. And with experience, a lot of cachers who don't have a lot of experience don't have as many target templates to work with. So when you tell them, oh, it's a lock and lock. Well, what's a lock and lock? Or you could describe it. You're like, okay, you're describing what it looks like. And they're like, okay. And then when they find it, they're like, oh, I thought it'd be smaller than, or whatever. I thought it was bigger than this. I thought it was smaller than this. I thought it was, it's because they don't have the references to things that, we catalog over time. When we find different types of caches, we kind of start to know. So I mentioned earlier about nanos. Well, if you never found a nano before,
your brain doesn't know to look for it.
It's hard to describe this. I mean, you can explain to them. I usually use like a pencil eraser to explain the size, but still, people, until you find one, you kind of don't really have that template in your brain of what it looks like. So,
well, a lot of that, we're crossing over to the memory part too. But I mean, if you've never seen a fake bolt geocache, it is extremely tricky.
It is.
For us, we can see them before we even get out of the car sometimes. We're like, oh, this is what that is. You can immediately, you're looking for certain things. So knowing what that is ahead of time obviously helps your brain sort through that information. Just like the Waldo thing, right? We use that example again. We know exactly what we're looking for. That's why we're able to find it. If we didn't know, and it just said, find some dude named Waldo, and he looks different than the other ones, you would never do it. It'd be like,
unless you've never seen him before, like by himself, you can't find him, or
Yeah.
trying to find the wizard. What's the wizard look like on the page? Well, the wizard looks like this. Oh, now I have a description. So another item, and then we're going to switch gears to another part of geocaching. But another thing that they mentioned about searching for things you've not seen before. Visual searching is easier when you know the exact appearance. We talked about that. And they give the example of if somebody came and said, "Hey, help me find my dog." Maybe you've never seen that person's dog before, but you've seen a dog.
Yeah.
So
you can generalize what you're looking for.
Yeah, you have a visual reference in your brain that goes, okay, and he explains, like, you go, oh, what are we looking for again? Oh, it's a Great Dane. Oh gosh, yes, we can find that. Yeah. So because you go in your brain, you've probably seen one more likely, and you can go from there. So,
I think that's like directly correlated to geocaching too. That's a skill that we pick up over time, right?
Yeah.
And we're used to looking for things that don't necessarily stand out, but maybe out of place, or that could be fake, or they're slightly different than the environment, or they could be repurposed to something, anything contain anything.
Right.
And I would assume that those skills translate to other places.
Sure.
I'm going to guess, not only because of the whole habit of it, but because of that part, looking for details in the world, like things that don't fit in the common world. That's what we do in geocaching all the time, right?
Unusual.
That's got to translate over into people that are, into many other aspects of life, like even like escape rooms. Now we know geocachers like doing escape rooms because we love solving puzzles, but I guarantee you, a group of geocachers is going to do a lot better than just a general public group that goes in there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Just because our brains are already working that way constantly, and we see those things even when we're not geocaching. We're like, oh, you can't tell me that if you stop if you stop right next to a lamppost, you're not going to go, is there a geocache in there? Other people aren't thinking that way, right? They just move past that lamppost. They probably never even saw the lamppost.
Yeah.
We're picking out different things that have, and the longer you do it, it's like those, when a newbie goes out, they haven't experienced a lot of stuff, so they may struggle on something.
Oh yeah.
And the 74-year-old cacher with bad eyesight sees it as they're getting out of the car. They already saw, they already know what's going on, so it's got to have some benefits. And I don't know all the places it would have benefits, but it's got to still cross over to other things, I would think.
Oh yeah. No, absolutely. No. Yeah, I was thinking also of the fake electrical plate.
Yeah, somebody mentioned that in the chat room. They have one that's getting DNS by new cachers, and it's right out in the open.
Yeah, they can't see it because they've never seen one before,
right?
Or and you and I and many seasoned geocachers go, if you may not know exactly what you're looking for. Yeah, the UPOS, the unusual pile sticks. Thanks, Dave. Yeah,
us, we're never gonna not see that when we're walking through the woods.
No, we always see it.
You can have 10 other super experienced cachers. They're not even thinking anything about it. They're never gonna notice that pile of sticks there.
Yeah,
but experienced hikers or whatever, not non-cachers. I mean,
yeah. But we go through the Rolodex in our mind of like, okay, is it a magnetic key holder? Oh, okay, no. Take a look at the pole again. If it's not under the lamp, if it's not an LPC, then you start that process like you're talking about. Like you're like, oh, maybe it is one of those fake electrical panels.
Yeah,
found one of those in Oklahoma. It's like not in a normal location. It just happened to be what they used.
Yeah.
I'm horrible at finding caches on tanks and cabooses, and
oh gosh, those are hard.
I'm terrible at it, and I kind of know what I should be looking for, but not always. And so part of that, I think, is even though I've done it a few times, I'm just bad at it.
Well, it's just, that's like washout of, those are usually the trends are like black on black on black. And you're like, oh my gosh, there's hardly, you don't have any, even though you have the target, what it probably looks like.
Right.
There's no pop at all.
No.
It's also suppressed. There's nothing to make it stand out from the background. And,
nope.
it fits the contours of those things really well because there's bolts and everything else on them that are also painted black and look very similar. That is definitely that's definitely a hard one. When you get
it
things
is.
like that. There's none of those visual clues to immediately recognize it.
Yeah. So I have a couple other items I want to run by you as far as what the benefits, and this is something that you could take this section of the show and give it to somebody who is like, meh, geocaching, meh.
Yeah.
What's the point? I'll tell you the point. It's healthy.
Yeah.
Geocaching is healthy, and it's healthy in many ways. Physically, it's healthy.
Yeah, obviously.
But I'm going to talk to you and get your opinion on some items that I found about how it's mentally healthy. So, first off, I found a article, and also again in the show notes, but finding a geocache has great benefits. It increases brain production of dopamine.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about dopamine in a moment. But the neurotransmitter responsible for regulating mood and optimism, it also affects learning, memory, concentration, and motivation. Dopamine is released every time we do a puzzle or even every time we put a piece in the right place.
Yeah.
Or in our case, finding a geocache. This encourages us to continue to do so and challenge ourselves. And I got another article we'll get to in a moment about how dopamine. I'll go ahead and read it to you, and then I'll let you comment on all of the dopamine items I've got here. Dopamine, as I mentioned, a neurotransmitter. Your body makes it, and your nervous system uses it to send messages between nerve cells. That's why it's sometimes called a chemical messenger. Dopamine plays a role in how we feel pleasure. It's a big part of our unique human ability to think and plan. It helps us strive, focus, finding things interesting. So the boost of dopamine from geocaching, how about that?
Well, and it makes sense, right? It's not just geocaching, but it's anything like that. And it's a good one too, because it comes in so many different forms for us, but it's like a runner's high or anything else like that. Your brain gives you a reward for achieving your task, right? They're like, that's a task. We like that. We're happy about that. And sadly, it's like drugs or anything else. When you first start geocaching, everyone you find is awesome, right?
Yeah.
Your dopamine rush out of that is you're just like, whoa, that was awesome. I did it. I figured it out, because there's all this brand new information coming at you, novel stimuli from this is the first time I've ever done a puzzle. This is, this is all different, all those things. Sadly, it does decrease some over time, but there's still that dopamine hit every time you find one, right? When you walk up and find a cache, you like it.
Yeah.
Unless you're totally sabotaging the experience by just doing everything else, every time we find one, we get a little dopamine hit, and that's perfectly healthy, and I think that's obviously good for the brain and the body. So in that respect, and because our game is so varied, one of the hardest things about any kind of regular dopamine, is keeping it new enough. Well,
sure.
Our game, even, we're between the two of us, we're over 20,000 cache finds or something, right? Probably or 15 or 20 or whatever. But how after 20,000 is something still interesting? Well, in geocaching, unlike some other hobbies, there's so many different aspects. Like, you've never been to puzzles, or puzzles are different every time, or now this is a type I don't normally do, or this is an area I don't normally do it. You can change your environment so much over time. It keeps that, that novel stimuli there. And which, again, taking this a little further, one of the biggest things to stave off Alzheimer's, outside of medicine and everything else, is new challenges for your brain.
Right.
Challenging your brain, one, is good, but new challenges are even better, right? Like crossword puzzles or something like that. That's great. But after you've done them 1,000 times, it's not getting that same kick that you do. So for brain health, you've got to get new experiences for your brain. So your brain has to struggle and do things. Geocaching is great for that because it constantly changes. Even if you're just going after the most basic traditional cache, people keep coming up with brand new creative ways to hide them. So it does keep changing. It doesn't lose that effect like a lot of other hobbies would, right?
Yes. That's very good.
We get constant new information coming in our brain to challenge in our brain, not only to get the dopamine hit, but we also are continuing to stave off other memory related issues, later.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, a lot of the cachers are not 19.
Yeah.
They're more likely to be 91 than 19. So,
sadly,
we all start getting where we go with, we got to start working on memory now to keep it strong. It's not that simple. Obviously, we're simplifying this, but just like a muscle, keep working it out, and it'll stay healthy over time. Don't give it anything new challenges, and it'll kind of just atrophy.
Yeah, I mean that's also a really good promotional point on doing. Jen.
From events, absolutely right. Meeting new people, stuff like that. Yeah. So events not just finding an actual geocache, but events are just like that too.
Yeah. Yeah, we can talk briefly. I got some stuff on caffeine, also caffeine and geocaching, Dave, in the show notes. I don't know if we'll get to it or not, but one of the things too that we can sort of promote is puzzle caches. So a lot of people don't want to do puzzle caches, but if you start with the easy ones and work your way up to doing a little bit more and sort of work that area, because in a sense you get two hits in this, you get the dopamine hit of solving it. And there's people like Electric Water Boy, old Tom Brotherman. He just, even though he'll never be in, probably in Kazakhstan in his life, he's going to solve that puzzle cache because he gets a dopamine hit by just solving the puzzle, and a lot of people do that. They want to be first to solve, or at least solve it, mark that they've done it, and just for their own, benefit. So
I do that as well. And it's interesting too, because if we're just talking about promoting the benefits of geocaching, if we're going down that road, if you like puzzle books, or anybody that's ever done puzzle books, you can buy them cheap, the Sudoku and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Even though they're generally cheap in the store and you can buy them constantly if you wanted to, you've already got access to a million of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Puzzles are open, just like you said, all over the world. You can solve you can solve a puzzle every day. I mean, you can solve 10 puzzles every day. You're not going to come close to even doing anything, at the end of the year. There's so many puzzles that come out constantly. It's not a bad activity to do exactly what he's talking about and just scroll somewhere brand new and say, I'm going to start solving all the 1-1 puzzles in Australia.
Yep.
And move on from there, right? You never have plans to go there. It doesn't matter. You have free access to brain training.
Yeah.
There's those apps that do that stuff, and it costs a bunch of money.
Right.
And you have a whole system to keep track of it too. You know what you've done because you solve it, right?
Yeah.
You can just look at geocaching and not even go out and get tons of brain training just sitting in your living room.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And absolutely free in the sense that you already have a geocaching account if you're looking it up, right?
Exactly.
But you don't have to buy anything additional. Like, get it on and solving those doesn't cost anything additional. And every time you find a new one, you just help your brain.
Yeah. Some folks are mentioning about reading a nice log.
Perfect. Absolutely. Like, there's so many things in geocaching. The hides, putting together a cache page, watching your travel bug move around the world.
Yep.
Yeah, a log on a cache. There's so many healthy, rewarding things in geocaching for those new experiences.
Yep. Favorite point.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why geocaching works as a healthy brain activity, because we could sit here and just list different aspects of the game all night long.
Oh, we can.
And still not scratch the surface of what people can do and new things that you can do. It's a really robust hobby in that way.
It really is. As we start to get toward the end, though, I've got another area that I found about decreasing stress. In addition to challenging us, it also helps us relax. Our brains go from beta or awake to a state of alpha. When you're geocaching, the alpha state is similar to the state we are in when we're dreaming. This shift in consciousness comes with many benefits, including ability to make deeper connections, improve our mood, improve our self-confidence, relieve stress, even lower blood pressure and heart rate. something that they, I think I sense this in my memory of when I go out with the Motley Caching crew, and the fact that so many things are gone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unfortunate, I'm pretty blessed. I don't really have a stressful life, I don't think, or stressful. The job has some stress, but it's it's a job. But one of the things, though, is that for people that have really high stress level type situations, either home or work or relationship, whatever it is, when they go geocaching, and I know that when we go out as our group and we're into it, we're going cache to cache. You sort of, thankfully, you forget everything. You're just focused on the next, on that cache, and then maybe the next cache, and you forget all about everything going on in the world, whatever it is, or everything going on, and even in your world, and it can really relieve a lot of that, stress in your life. It can lower your blood pressure. There's so many things that are such a benefit to that time that you're geocaching, and that we know that, but sometimes I don't think we express that to others as to why it's such a great sport.
Yeah.
So,
and I think, and it's not a uncommon technique to relieve stress, to get your mind on something else, right? But I think why it's doubly effective for geocaching, and there's other things that would do a similar response, obviously, but why I think it's doubly effective for geocaching is, let's say you're using it to get your mind off stress and everything else, right?
Yeah.
You're going out, you're getting into the zone, you're totally phased in.
Yeah.
I think why it does so well is it's not just a mental distraction,
Right.
it's also a physical distraction.
Okay.
So with geocaching in general, and not everything is hanging off the side of a mountain, right? But I mean, if you're just walking around and keeping aware of your senses, and also trying to find something that's brand new, and and you may not have seen one before, you're using all of your brain that you can, and you're using your body as well, right? Because you're out there moving around the environment. So when you combine those two things, a physical and a mental challenge, that is a very good way to get your mind off everything else you're doing. So it makes sense that you could use it as, rather than some of those unhealthy coping mechanisms that too many of us use, right?
Yeah.
Alcohol and drugs and cigarettes and all that other stuff. And people use those. Geocaching can take place of that, because it does give you that dopamine hit, the physical and mental challenge, and just gives you a break for a minute. And with the world's crazy. It's been crazy in the last few years. There's a lot of things going on now that are crazy that we don't talk about on the show. And geocaching's still there through all that.
Yeah.
Right. Me and you have been doing geocaching through all those things that have happened in the last decade or whatever. It is a good escape. I used it to keep my mind off the pain I was in after I had a big surgery years back.
Yeah.
That's what got me up off the couch, started using my brain again, started using my body again. And it can just do so many things when you challenge your brain in that way, I think, and really relieve the symptoms of depression. It can do a lot of things. Obviously, it doesn't cure anything, right? But it just, all those mood levels go up. You get off the distractions, distracted from whatever is going on in your life.
Yep.
And we undersell those benefits a lot when we're talking about geocaching, I think.
Yeah. And one sort of last item, and then we're going to do our giveaway, and I'll tell you what we've got. And that is, I'm a big proponent in something that's similar to what we're talking about, which is making geocaches. So the process that you can go through, and a lot of people, surprisingly, I'm always shocked to see where people don't hide geocaches. And of course, I'm not going to go on a huge rant about that, but if people don't hide geocaches, then you don't get to go find geocaches,
right?
Because if somebody's not doing it, they aren't out there. So you need to be part of that. You need to be part of the solution, and that is hiding quality geocaches and then maintaining those quality geocaches. So
there's a couple things you said there. One, of course, we need to hide geocaches. We're both on the same boat when it comes to that, right? Hide good things for other people to find because you like finding good things. That's just part of the game to give back. But you mentioned something else in there, not just hiding a geocache, but you said creating a geocache. Well, it ties into everything we've done tonight, but like one of the aspects of geocaching that's the most brand new every single time is when you're creating your own geocache. If you're like, even if it's something like a birdhouse or, anything that we've seen so common now, but it's still new and different. Anytime you can create something, especially physical, mental, using all those aspects, that's like one of the best things. Creating something original and new is, I can't think of a better thing for your brain than that.
Yeah.
So that's creative as you can get.
Yeah. Couple of things is, I appreciate Audie being in the chat room. You and I both have had so much joy and dopamine hits off of Audie's caches that are just incredible. So Audie, again, thank you, sir, for doing what you do. Hopefully you find a lot of joy. I know your daughter, we found hers in Colby, and I know I think she's pretty proud of the one butterfly one we did, though. So keep doing what you're doing. And one thing Olivia mentioned about they get stolen a lot. Go ahead.
We're both looking on the same time.
No, fine. So this is a good thing. That I know I usually get very down on about things when they get stolen or smashed or whatever, but turn it into a positive and go, you know what? Challenge accepted. If you think you can find my cache, it's for another show, but all my caches are premium for the most part. I got like 2. I got about, I don't know, 60 premium caches and about 2 that are not. Which kind of cuts down on the riffraff a little bit. But what I've done before is I have redone a location going, okay, you know what? My cache was probably too obvious for even the general public, and they found it. So you know what? I'm going to make one that basically blends in and only geocachers will find it.
Yeah. And it, just like Tiger, I just said, it is part of the game. If you're out there in public spaces, that is bound to happen. Some, just like trackables, right? It's part of the game. Now it sucks. And don't get me wrong, if one of mine goes missing, I think somebody stole it, I'm all kinds of pissed off, right? I mean, we all are, right? We're like, this is I'm mad, and everything extreme you can think. However, it is just part of the game, and we got to take that attitude some, right, with it, because we can do our best, but people stumble across things. It happens, right?
Yeah.
But if we don't, then we will lose a lot of people hiding geocaches because they're letting that stop them.
Yeah.
And it sucks. It's terrible. We'll never stop people from stealing stuff, but we can't shut down the game for fear of that. And I feel sympathy. I've had them stolen. I had one stolen that I worked on for 3 months. It was out for 3 days and it was gone.
Yeah.
And it was a container that I've spent tons of time and new stuff on, and it is what it is. I was mad, but after a little while I was like, well, it is what it is.
Yeah. Carry on. Don't let the muggles get you down as they, you see the thing.
Well, we got a giveaway to do too.
Yeah, let's do the giveaway. So real quick, I'll show you some of the items that we have. We were fortunate to have. So I still have a guitar from last year's Cache Fest. I still have a bison, cute bison dude from 2 years ago now. And then I have some of our old, I guess we call them old coins now, Jesse, but this is the Geocache Talk one. I still have some kids.
Current version,
current version. Get the geocaching with kids. And then I do have a couple gadget.
And these are all out of production now, right? There's no more runs.
We're not remaking any of those at the moment. So, and then So there you go. I still have a couple of these GC World decks of cards.
That is fun. We're going to have to come up with a time to be able to do that again.
Yeah, maybe we'll do it on a show or something, or extra show or whatever for that. So, all right, let me bring up the screen.
So while you're bringing that up,
yeah,
really like that bison coin, right?
Yes.
Makes me think, and we can't announce where future ones are going to be, right? But when we do this next one that I'm thinking about for Cache Fest, I'm thinking a grizzly bear is going to be a good coin for it.
Ooh, interesting.
I know we can't say that we're going to have one in Alaska yet, but I'm just saying.
I like your thinking.
It just sounds so good. CoinFest Alaska. I'm just saying.
CoinFest Alaska has sort of it just, we break ground all the time. We are
only ever mega in Alaska. That's going to be, nobody's ever going to break that one.
No. And we're a show that breaks new ground all the time. I mean, we do things, and I need to go back someday and just write down all the things we've done. We were the first to do the challenge
Cache Fest Antarctica,
the leaderboard. Yeah, Cache Fest Antarctica. So, all right, Jen. Yep, big
no
money,
whammies.
no whammies. All right, I'm going to push the button. Here we go. Oh, Ghost Swimmer got his in the last minute. Hashtag brain. Put in hashtag brain. You got to do it real quick. Here we go. All right, pushing the button. Here we go. Round and round she goes. Here we go. Push the button. That's all I do. I push the button and it just spins. There's all the people. It's spinning. It's spinning.
See all the names from the chat room tonight. Christ our King, 987.
Christ our King. I think fortunate for him. Congratulations. I think that's his second win. But we're good with that.
So it'll be a while before they're allowed to win again, right?
Yep.
That was a long time ago when they won, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's been a while.
Yeah. Either way, congrats. Email in geocachetalk@gmail.com to tell us which prize you want.
Yeah, send us an email and we will we'll go from there, and we'll see everybody. Sunday is another gadget talk, and then we'll be back here on Thursday. I'll be on the road, but that's okay. I'll be somewhere, and we'll do another deep dive. So thanks everybody for being along. Thanks, Jesse. That was a good talk. Good discussion. And
we can talk about that and the benefits of the brain geocaching for many more hours. But I think we hit, and in the notes, people can look at more information as well.
Yeah, we got some more. We didn't cover. And like you said, this one can be revisited in someday in the future because there's more. There's so much to talk about.
You could almost say there's enough to write a book on it.
A book? No, yeah. All right. Good night, everybody.